Coming up is my conversation with Paula Fernandez de Pinedo from Madrid, Spain. She is currently with EY Consulting. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with her. And before we get started, I do want to give a shout out to InterraWorks from Nashville, Tennessee, based in Austin as well. And as I say all the time, one of the top productivity companies in the world, leadership development, team building, anything you can think of that makes a company run more smoothly. So today we have a special guest from Madrid, Spain. Are you coming from Madrid, Spain as we speak?
Yes, that's where I was born and that's where I am right now.
Terrific. And it's Paula. So first of all, just tell us about yourself. Where are you from? How did you get to where you are? And then we'll just go from there.
Sure. So I am Spanish from Madrid. I've always had the adventure and travel bug. And when I was 11 years old, my parents offered me the opportunity to go to boarding school in the UK. So of course I said yes. They took me there when I was 10 years old to see the school. I fell in love with it. I thought it was the best opportunity ever. I saw it as basically fun. It was, after all, not everything was fun, but it was a brilliant opportunity. I arrived not knowing any single word of English. And I had no one there. So obviously no friends, no family. And within 3 months, I was completely fluent in English. So I guess that's my first, who would I thank? Well, that my parents for giving me that opportunity, because I would not have the job I have. I would not have the life I have if I hadn't gone to boarding school in the UK when I was 11, which was quite a brave thing to do.
Why the UK? How did you pick the UK out of all the other places you could have gone to boarding school?
So, well, it would have to have been an English-speaking country, and
Right.
UK is not very far from Spain. So location-wise, it made sense. My dad was a partner at PwC at the time, and he had some contact with local partners in the UK. So he thought at least they would be, a hand or some sort of family I would be able to have while I was there. So that's the reason why it was the UK. There was no other ties to the UK.
Yeah, not everyone listening to this is going to know the acronym PwC. So share what that means to you.
Of course, PricewaterhouseCoopers is one of the big four accounting consulting firms in the world. And yes, so my dad was a partner there, which is, I guess, the most senior rank you can have in one of these companies. So that's, I guess, why I was very lucky that they could afford sending me to boarding school. I recognize I'm extremely privileged to have had that opportunity.
And were you right in the center of London?
No, I was like almost 3 hours away down south in a little town called Sherborne. It was all green, full of sheep, and there was like literally nothing. But that meant that the school grounds were insane. They were like Hogwarts type. It was beautiful. It was very green.
You said something earlier that piqued my interest. You said it took you how many months to become to be able to speak the English language?
I think by the 3rd or 4th month, I was pretty much fluent.
Wow.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah, kids are sponges. I remember arriving the first day and, girls being friendly, talking to me, and me just like replying back in Spanish, saying, I don't understand what you're saying. And then within 3 months, I was, doing assignments at school. I was doing presentations at school, all in English. And I actually had quite a funny, very British, nice accent, which I've lost along the way.
Well, actually, you sound like you're kind of a combo of Spain and England, to me, at least. That's just, yeah, very nice. It's very easy to listen to. So when you finished school and all of your, tell us a little bit more about your education. Obviously, that was when you were 10, but where did you go to college and where did you go to, or I guess there they call it university.
University. Yeah. So after having spent a couple of years in that school in the UK, all I wanted to do was to go abroad. That's all I ever wanted to do. Now, I come from a family of lawyers, and my dad wanted me to study law. I was always fascinated by people. I had such clarity that I wanted to study psychology.
Hmm.
Um, and my dad was very unhappy about that because he said, "You're going to starve." So, not that psychologists starve, but it was a misconception from him.
Sure. No,
Um,
no, no, I get it.
so anyway, he said, "Well, if you're going to study psychology, you have to do it in the best university in Spain." I really wanted to go to the US. That was my dream, to go to one of these university campuses in the US. I mean, it's just to have all those opportunities to learn the way they teach you in the US. That's all I wanted. But my parents didn't want to me to do that. They felt the universities in Spain were good enough, and so they made me stay. I guess that's something a bit harsh, but at the time it was hard for me to not
Sure.
have my dream accomplished. So anyway, I studied in Madrid, and immediately after university, I got a job in Deloitte, which is another one of these big four consulting accounting firms. So it was an anomaly, I guess, because most people in Spain who work get a job straight after university in one of these big four, they normally have to have a master's degree. I didn't really believe in doing a master's degree straight after university because I didn't really know what I wanted to specialize on.
Sure.
So I tried my luck and I got lucky. So I got a job in the human capital team, which is the team that deals with people in consulting and transformation engagements. And but straight after, I still had that adventure bug. I just really wanted to go see the world, travel, live abroad. So I asked my team at Deloitte if I could go transfer to Deloitte London. They weren't happy about that because they didn't want to let me go. So I applied externally to Deloitte London and they hired
Hmm.
me.
Terrific.
So I went to
So
Deloitte London. Yes.
no, I was just going to say they weren't happy with that. You did it anyway, and the people in London were happy to have you, I'm assuming.
Yes, well, I assume so too. If they offer me the job, I hope so.
Yeah.
But I remember when I asked the question in the Madrid office, I remember this manager at the time. She said to me, "You know, you're never going to achieve that dream. They're never going to hire you. Why would they hire someone Spanish? I wanted to go there as well, but they never hired me. So why would they hire you?" And that just made me more determined, to be honest.
Absolutely. Well, what you just described, unfortunately, Paula, is a typical person who's jealous, insecure, and would love to be more like you, but she, they, he are afraid to say it. And that is prevalent
Yeah.
in corporate America today. And I say corporate America, meaning in the United States. I'm not judging what's going on in Spain because I know nothing other than Barcelona for 10 days with my wife was fantastic. And we were this close to going to Madrid and we were having so much fun and we just decided not to. And it's been 4 years, but we'll be back. But anyway,
You need to come. Yes,
I
and I'll tell you all the places to go for sure.
I would we
Madrid is
would
great.
we would love to. And so your response to what I just said about that type of person and why they try and compress us and keep us down and tell us they're never going to, and they, because they wouldn't hire me, they didn't hire me, they wouldn't want me, so they wouldn't want you. What kind of person does that sound like?
Yes, and I think you're completely right. Is someone who's acting from jealousy, is acting from deep insecurities, and you know, I when I run into people like that type of people, and I have run across many others in my
Sure.
career, I just try to not judge because it's all about them. It's, you know, they are dealing with their own pain. And I just try to, in the best way possible, because we're all humans at the end of the day, but not let it determine how I act or how I judge them or how I feel towards them, because, they have enough pain on their own if they're behaving like that.
Yeah, good point. And I love the fact that you said you just try not to judge. When you
Yes.
went to London and you were first introduced to the job that you were just describing that you applied for and received, give us the names of a couple people that were important to you early on.
Yes. So I remember my first week in Deloitte, London. I think I was very naive because I was clearly fluent in English thanks to my experience in the boarding school. But when I arrived there, I realized my English was the English of an 11-year-old girl.
Mm.
It wasn't sophisticated. It definitely wasn't business. And I remember I had a couple of first days of onboarding with lots of different people across the business, many much more senior than I. And I remember we had to do these exercises. I'm feeling completely out of my comfort zone, not being able to contribute anything, just feeling. I mean, the thought that I kept thinking was, I'm going to be fired tomorrow. Like these are the 2 days I'm going to do. I'm going to last 2 days of onboarding. Once they realize what I'm about, they're going to say, thank you very much. Please go back to Spain. And I was assigned a counselor. For those who are not familiar with this type of structures in large organizations, so you have your boss or line manager, but you also have someone who takes care of your career, and they're called, one of the things they're called is counselors. So my counselor at the time was an extremely kind and caring person. His name is Dom. And he was actually fluent in Spanish, funnily enough, because he had lived in, I think, South America and Spain, probably. He was very smart, very kind, and just, took me under his wing, showed me the ways. And I remember one of the things he did was give me, that first Christmas, he gave me a book called Sumo. I don't know if you know it, but it's called Sumo because it's Shut Up and Move On.
Mm.
And it's basically like, do not wear a victim t-shirt, just get on with it and stop complaining, which I think is what I needed at the time. And I still remember it very dearly that he gave me that book, and it's a very short book, but it had a big impact on me. So I think Dom was definitely a very important person. And unfortunately, from that time in, the organization, I didn't have great positive encounters. So I would say my friends in London, the friends I was making, were really my comfort net. And my sister, who is, I would say she's probably the most important person in my life alongside my son and life partner. But my sister is a very important figure in my life. She was living outside of London in that time. So I could rely on her for comfort and support a lot.
Don being a counselor, that role isn't very consistent in American organizations for sure.
Oh, really? Okay.
They're onboarding. Yes. Here's your first day. This person's going to help train you. They're going to show you the ropes. And if you're in sales, perhaps it's learn the lingo. This is our product. This is our pitch. Here's a not a Rolodex. Here's a list of names. Go call on them. But to have a success counselor or a counselor that is there for your onboarding and trying to help you be successful, wow, that would be something out of the ordinary for a traditional organization in America. So,
wow, that's a
sorry,
shame, because if
it
done
is.
well, it's a beautiful role, because you not only get someone who's going to vouch for you, who's going to give you really honest advice. They are also going to be there if you have a really bad day and you need to vent. And as we know, in many places, you're not allowed to vent because it's seen as not professional, but it's a safety net, is like a circle of trust.
Yeah. Tell me, let's give your sister a name and tell me a little bit about that relationship. Is she older, younger, and why is she so important?
So my sister, Maria, she's 13 years older than me, and I would say she's almost like a second mom. So she brought me up, I would say. I mean, not to discredit my mom, who's an amazing mom, but my sister was there for me always. And her story is her story. If you think my story is interesting, her story is 25 times more interesting than mine. She's currently a lawyer at Google, and she didn't work, was out of a job for many years because she had 5 kids. So my sister, after being for many years without a job, she had to find a job, and she's now a very successful lawyer at Google. So her story, that's in a nutshell, but she's someone who I very much look up to. She's super strong, resilient, but keeps, life lighthearted when she's had to endure very difficult situations.
Well, to be honest, I heard 5 kids and I went, wow. I mean, that is, you talk about being resilient and strong. I mean, they just keep coming. And I admire men, women, teams, couples that are focused on why we're really here. And it's not the almighty dollar. It's not the title. It's not the things we're ever going to be remembered for. We're going to be remembered in my opinion, Maya will be remembered by those 5 human beings. And on her tombstone, something that they believe is true about Maya will be there. Not Google, not lawyer, not London, nothing. It's and that's something I don't believe we really take heart to, because we're so busy, focused on money and title and importance, and it's not going to matter when we're not around. It's the lives we touch. It's conversations like this that people will remember, I hope, being a servant leader. And that's why I created this podcast. I believe serving human beings first and then leading them. And by the way, it's not servant management. It's not service boss. It's not servant supervisor. It's servant leader. And Maya, and it sounds like you as well, we have a chance to be a parent. And that is, in my humble opinion, the most important role we'll ever play.
Beautifully put. Yeah.
So it's neat that you have a sister in your life, and someone, I'm assuming you're still, well, I shouldn't assume, your relationship today with Maya is solid?
Yes. We've, like all human relationships, it's gone up and down, but we are very important for each other. We support each other through very difficult situations. And she is just a phenomenal human being.
Terrific. So you moved on from Deloitte, of course, and you ended up with another company with initials EY, Ernst & Young. Tell us about that move. And you've been there how long now?
Yes. So the Deloitte times were a bit hard. I was in an engagement that just took me out completely. It was working very long hours, and when I say very long hours, it was doing several all-nighters. For weeks I didn't come back home before 3 a.m. It was very stressful. I was being treated not with respect by senior people. So it just, and I don't want to make it sound like the whole organization is like that, not at all. It was just that specific engagement. So it's broke me, and I took 6 months off on stress leave, which was very hard on me mentally, because I'm someone who just deals with stuff and gets on with it, and this for me made me feel very weak. So I had to rebuild myself. It was a great learning, and I'm very pleased that happened, because it made me who I am today. And whilst I was off on stress leave, I interviewed with EY, and I really enjoyed their culture. It's a very friendly, much kinder culture. So I've been in EY ever since. So that's 15 years now.
Wow.
Yes.
So So what was the culture? Let me rephrase. Instead of talking about the differences, just tell us why you say you just really enjoyed the culture. What were you attracted to?
So people are, by default, they are kind. Now, obviously, then things may go sour, like in all human relationships, but if you're going to reach out to anyone in EY randomly, the chances are that person is going to try and help you. They're going to be kind to you, and they're going to be friendly and warm, which to me is a beautiful thing to have and a treasure.
Yeah, not every large organization even begins by describing themselves as kind. What I mean, do they have words on the wall? Do they have other words other than be kind to other employees? And again, I'm not trying to be corny, but most organizations have a set of values, and you have to you get to or you have to honor them. And if you're not honoring them, and even though you're very, very good at your job, your role, if you're not honoring the values because you're being an asshole or a dick or a you know what, then you're not gonna last there. Because
Absolutely.
a lot of people focus so much on production, and they're so valuable financially to the firm, but we give, let's just say, Dick and Susie a break because they're so valuable financially, but they don't honor the values. And to me, that's upsetting. And to me, that sets me off because they're being hypocritical. And
Absolutely.
and those people should be either put on probation or let go of. But we won't because they're so important. Tell me,
Absolutely.
tell me about the values at the ones that you honor and love the most.
So we have three values, and I'm going to come across as a bad employee because I can only remember one, but it's the one that always sticks with me. It's people who build relationships based on doing the right thing, which for me is beautiful because it encompasses people, it encompasses integrity, ethics, morality, and it's not only just pretend to be nice, it's just do the right thing. And that one really sticks with me.
Well, yeah, you mentioned my number one principle in at Aden leadership is integrity, and it is you are your word. Just own who you are and own what you say. And by the way, for anyone listening, you've probably heard this coming from my mouth and my heart many times. Not everybody's perfect. And when you do make a mistake, then clean it up. It's in I don't mean an insincere, I'm sorry. But then when you do clean it up, don't expect the other person to say, "Oh, I forgive you." Because
Mm.
you might have hurt their feelings. You might have screwed up their day. You might have messed up a whole project. They don't have to forgive you. Integrity means when you know you screwed up, you get it, you have the opportunity to say, "I'm sorry." And
Mm.
then if you honestly mean this next part, then offer this, and it will not happen again. But we don't. We just say, "I'm sorry," and walk right on by them. And we don't even wait to see what the response is because they can still be pissed, and rightfully so.
I
Do
think
the
it takes a very evolved human being, and I fully agree with you, but it takes a very mature, emotionally mature human being to do exactly what you said of, I'm going to give you space until your feelings have passed from this situation, and I understand I've hurt you, and I'm going to give you the space that you need, and I'll be here waiting. If definitely, if everyone was like that, the world would be a better place, that's for sure.
and we could be more evolved. You said emotionally evolved and emotionally intelligent, positively intelligent, whatever you want to call it. We don't want to work on these skills because our organizations aren't valuing them. And a
Mm.
lot of people see that emotionally involved human being as soft, but I call it a courageous conversation. I call it a conversation that would change the relationship. And by the way, you said uh, people building relationships and doing the right thing. Then, Paula, I ask you, what else do we have if we don't have relationships?
Absolutely.
I mean, every story that you've shared with me and my audience today has been about another person. And when two people have something, call me corny, but it's called a relationship. And you've actually uttered, well, it wasn't the best, but or it was really good, and that's okay. These are called life experiences. We all have several of them, and as you get older, you're going to have more and more.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
why don't we value the emotional intelligence? Why don't we value someone who's emotionally evolved? Your words, not mine.
I think it's because, unfortunately, those people are not the norm. And as we know, anyone who's an outlier is the outcast. You don't want to enable or put those people at the center or use them as role models. I think many people are very incapable emotionally, and especially in large corporations, you surround yourself by very smart people, but some are really clumsy with other people, and they really don't understand how to. And I'm not saying this in a disingenuous way in terms of understand their motivations to manipulate them in any like cynical way, but I mean it in really understanding human beings, what motivates them, what triggers them, how to all work towards one objective. It's mind-blowing how very few people are actually capable of doing that.
I'd love to have you and some colleagues on my webinar, Courageous Conversations, and see see if you don't think something like that. And again, make it your own. It's just it's mine now, but see if we couldn't get people to at least prepare for conversations versus coming to my office. He, she, they don't even know why they're there. This non-evolved human being says what they have to say, so then they can check that thing off their list, but they're not focused on the relationship because they don't really care. And you said
Mm,
awkward. I'll tell you what comes to mind is they're narcissists at times, and they're not evolved because they don't want to, and
mhm,
they're not evolved because the people above them said, hey, just keep kicking butt, taking names, making money, and you're good. Well, but then again, like I said earlier, what about when they're at home? Do they
mm,
care about people at home? And by the way, we don't learn this from mom and dad. Not all of us do. My dad was not an evolved communicator. He wasn't an asshole, but he was certainly not evolved. My mom
mm,
was overly communicative, but not polished. So where did I
mm,
learn it? And I'm not saying I'm evolved. I'm just saying I'm a decent communicator, can hold a room, and I do this for a living. It's because I wanted to.
mm,
I listened to people who were better than I was. And I said, hey, I want to do something like that. So, and what I just described there is curiosity. And I believe curiosity, empathy, Paula, should be in everybody's value, because at that moment we become interested and curious people. And just what I'm doing with you right now, I'm enjoying this conversation, but I'm doing it because I'm curious as to who you really are and where you're coming from. And we're going to cover this next part. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do next? What's exciting for you? And there's young women that are going to listen to this, and I guarantee you they're going to say, I want to be her, or I want to be strong enough to leave an organization where I don't feel safe, or I don't feel wanted or trusted or appreciated.
yeah.
So comment on that if you wish. If not, I'd love to hear what are you doing right now in your world that excites you?
So right now, I'm currently the chief of staff, and I'll explain what that entails, to the leader who leads consulting globally for EY. So just to explain that,
Okay.
in EY is a very large corporation. We have around 400,000 people. Out of those, 130,000 are people who work in consulting, which is one of the main services we sell to organizations. So what we do is help organizations transform, and that can be to improve their supply chain processes or their finance function, or embed AI and things like that. So I work for the person who leads all of that globally. So he's a very senior person of the organization. He sits in he's part of the board, and he's got a very, very big role. What I do in my role is very varied. So I'm a problem solver is the best summary to describe it as. And I can do anything from leading transformational projects, or right now I'm leading 2 big events that we're doing in the company. I oversee his internal and external comms. His media interviews as well. So there's obviously teams and experts who do a lot of this stuff, but I am, I guess, like a filter between him and these teams. Now, the person I'm working for, Errol, who I will send you his name, he's the absolute best person I've ever worked with in my whole career. He is the epitome of what we've been describing in terms of kind, human-centered, family person, and at the same time, extremely smart and very demanding. So I've been working with him for 6 years now, and I just absolutely love working with him.
High praise.
Very high praise. And I'm not someone to give it freely, so it's definitely well-deserved. And in terms of what I want to go do, so over the course of my career, I've got 21, 22 years of experience now. Over the course of my career, I have mentored quite a few people, especially younger women. And I've realized that the one thing that all of us have in common, that to be able to evolve as human beings, we need to get rid of limiting self-beliefs. Now, as a psychologist, yes, which is no small action, but as a psychologist by training, I understand self-beliefs and the narratives we tell ourselves quite well, but many people don't. So I use that when I'm mentoring others, and it's something that I want to be able to take to the next level. So my ideal would be to do that at scale, if possible. Now, I don't know what that means, if it's through a book, if it's through talks, but it is something that it is aspirational, and I really, really want to do it.
There is a company called PQ, Positive Intelligence, Shirzad Shamin. He is brilliant. You need to meet him. It's all about saboteurs, and we can talk off air, but it's literally exactly what you said. You are trained already, and you're saying you want to help others and perhaps yourself eliminate self-doubt, disbeliefs. And what we believe we can do, we can do. But that's the easy part. You can run, you can jump, you can play basketball, but when it comes to the boardroom or the stage or relationships, we have these self-doubts. And some of them come from mom and dad. Some of them come from past experiences, but we all have them, the limiting beliefs, and they sabotage literally our confidence, our codependence, and everything. We just don't even know they're there. But and he makes it very simple. Take the quiz, answer all the questions. It's 5 to 7 minutes. And then boom, there are your saboteurs. Now, it's up to us as evolved or soon to be more evolved human beings to say, why am I allowing this to, take me out at the knees? Why does this affect my confidence? And then once you study it, okay, now let go of it. Well, that's not so easy. Well, it is, because it's a choice we make. Because think about the choice we make to be a narcissist or an asshole or a rude manager or a bad boss. We do it because we want to? No, we do it because over our time, someone has said, this makes you valuable. Mm-hmm. And that's not true, but that's because someone else isn't involved. But back to Errol, I mean, he just sounds like somebody that we should all have in our world, because he not only values you, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say he allows you to do your role. And yes, he might be demanding, but I'm sure there's not much that you haven't done. Then he hasn't said, hey, that was a great job. Or I liked what you did. You might try this next time.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I love about working with him is that we're very different people. He's extremely analytical. He's risk averse. And I'm kind of on the other end of the spectrum. I like to push boundaries. I'm quite creative for the corporate world. Obviously, if you compare me with someone in the arts, not creative, but in the corporate world, I'm creative. And he always says it. He says we complement each other very well, which is beautiful, because I don't think I had felt that valued before with in all of my true self. So all of my being, I hadn't
Yeah.
been, I hadn't felt that valued for who I am.
And if you were to look in your eyes right now and see the smile that you have when you're talking about the experience, it's beautiful. And when we talk about someone, and you have talked about an experience that wasn't so nice, our frown shows up. Our eyes aren't as open and beautiful to look at. And these are the things that relationships do for us if we're in a good one.
Mm. Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. I think there's always an option, right? There's always a solution. And it might be quitting, as you say, or running away, or it might be having that conversation. I mean, I've had really tough conversations in my career. I remember this one time I was in a project with someone, it was a whole team, but there was a particular manager in the team who was very difficult with me. And I didn't really understand why he was being so difficult. So I had a more of a fragile ego at that point. So I kind of matched his energy and into like a bit of a toxic back and forth with him trying to be petty. And then one day he flew over to London, sat me in a room, and he gets all my credit for doing this because I wasn't brave enough at that point. And he said, right, get it all out. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? He said, just get it all out. Everything that annoys you about me, just tell me honestly. And so I did. And then he told me what annoyed him about me. And that was an incredibly difficult conversation, but we were able to rebuild our relationship after that, which I never thought it would be possible. And we still keep in touch from time to time, 10 years or more later.
That's the beauty of wanting to understand where the other person is coming from. And that is the simplest definition of a courageous conversation. Now, knowing he was going to show up, you had some time to prepare, but maybe you weren't really wondering, is this going to go so well? But I mean, I don't know what's the gentleman's name, but thank you is what I would say.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's life-changing, or at least it could be job changing or career changing, or at least relationship changing. But a lot of us, we have someone that we want to, we don't really need to, but we want to say something to. We don't prepare, we don't set it up, but then we talk about them to other people. And then those people talk about, oh, well, how come Paulo can't get it right with, I don't know, Steve or Susie? And then they're talking about you, and all of a sudden Steve and Susie hear something, and they're like, well, why doesn't she have the courage to come talk to me? Well, I'm not going to go talk to her. It's just, this is how we spend all of our time during the day, and it's just wasting time.
Absolutely.
And again, people who know me say, well, Greg, you make it sound so easy. I don't know what's so difficult about it. If you want to know where someone else is coming from, simply ask. The worst thing they can say is none of your business, or I don't really want a relationship like that with you. And again, it's not soft. These are not soft skills. These are very important skills. And I hope my 14-year-old is learning from me as we speak. And I know he is, because I speak with him, giving him the understanding that I know you get this. I know you can process this. And I use really weird words like this after we have a conversation. Brooks, do we agree? And I mean, what's wrong with that?
I love that.
Steve Chandler, who's one of my models in the coaching world, he has this beautiful, I don't know, it's probably 4 or 5 minutes, but it's all about expectations versus agreement. We're so insistent on pointing and expecting something from somebody else. And even if they nod their head, they didn't agree. They just were expected to do something. And not to get long-winded, but it's beautiful to say at the end of something, Are we on the same page? Will you actually show up to work on time, or whatever the issue is? And try it with
Yeah,
your spouse, try it with your friends, because if you're tired of people not being on time or saying things they shouldn't in meetings, then that's time for to reset the agreement. It sounds,
absolutely.
I mean, you're in a position where you're working with hundreds of people on a regular basis, and if you let them leak integrity and not show up and honor their word, you'd pull your hair out.
Oh yeah, for sure. And what I was going to say, because I love that example of saying, are we in agreement and expecting a response? So working across cultures, which I do on a daily basis, I work with people from all over the world, has taught me that people respond differently in different parts of the world. So for example, in Japan, if you're proposing something and they remain silent, that does not mean they agree. It means they are digesting it and they are processing it, and they will come back to you with an answer in however many business days. So expecting or asking for a response is a way to make sure that everyone is on the same page.
Yeah, you're in a world that involves a lot of worlds, and it's beautiful. I'm just so glad we had some time to spend together and get to know you better. And now my audience gets to know who you are. And any questions you have, or any questions you'd like to just put out there when this podcast goes live, then people will be able to respond to us.
I would love to ask your audience if the self beliefs that they have play such an important role in their life as I assume they do in people's lives, because they do in mine. But I would love your audience to comment on that if they would like to.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll make sure to put that in our overview.
Brilliant. Well, I've really enjoyed our conversation, Greg. Thank you so much for inviting me.
My pleasure. It was everything I thought it would be and more, and I appreciate it. And you can tell Errol that I believe he's got a gem, and I just can't wait to watch you from afar. And when we do come to Spain, I'll look you up.
Please do. Thank you so much.
Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Just a wonderful conversation with Paula. Just a beautiful human being, a big heart. And the stories that she told us were full of self-understanding, wanting to have better relationships. She didn't say courageous conversations, but you heard one of her conversations with someone that basically flew into her town and said, we can do better than this. What don't you like about me? What do you want me to change? And wow, why don't we do that more often? I think I know the answer, because we don't want to, and we don't have the tools. Her growing up story, her sister that's 13 years older, Maya, that has 5 kids and has just made a great life of herself. We'll get more information about her sister. The chief of staff, Errol, that she was so complimentary of. Again, just a wonderful conversation. And what she wants me to ask the audience, and you'll see it in the notes, is, do our self-beliefs keep us from achieving what we want out of life? And you know me well enough. I talk about saboteurs all the time. And yes, they do. They do for me. They do for a lot of people I know. So the question might be, do they, yes or no? But then be courageous to put in the notes, how? How do they limit you and your success? And again, thank you to my sponsor, InterraWorks. Appreciate you being my sponsor. And a special shout out to Paula Fernandez de Pinedo out of Madrid, Spain, for being my guest. Just what a wonderful and beautiful human being. Until next time, this is Greg Aden with Servant Leadership Podcast.